how do banks think about the exposure that they might have to businesses in Ukraine or the businesses that have pulled out of Russia? And my guess is they don't have too much direct exposure to Russian banks unless they're really large banks. And there are some banks that Deutsche Bank comes to mind that, they actually had to do a turnaround in how they actually handle the situation with Russia because of the geopolitical crisis. But, what is the issue for, you know, everything from energy prices, their exposure to the energy sector, and, their exposure to what could be these other risks that are very closely tied to the geopolitical risks.
Yeah, and again, the uncertainty on how long a war is going to go plays into that too. But I think in terms of the portfolio risk, I don't think there's a ton of that in the short term. I mean, you've got Sberbank is a major Russian bank, and what I've even heard this week is the focus has been on how do you effectively manage the sanctions. Uh,
Yes.
so, for example, I mean, you can have like good actors in global market, decent actors that are good KYC, good know your customer experience that happen to have a Russian bank account and they're shut down. So
Right.
there are unintended consequences of what's happening right now. And I also just heard too one of the speakers at this conference I'm at this week on this very topic mentioned some of the concerns around the SARS, the suspicious activity monitoring that goes on, where they might find a relative of somebody who's a politically exposed person who's perfectly fine and they're doing trades. And the question is, do you shut them down too? How far do you go, right? Family,
Right.
network. And so there's these conversations where the banks are feeling these ethical dilemmas. They're trying to comply with these directives, but it does beg a lot of questions. And so I think the focus is on the sensitivity just to get it right. But I do think there's that broader question of what does it mean, economically by doing this. And I think my sense of it is going to be, it's how long does this get protracted in terms of what that real true impact is.